Well, welcome to the first episode of Playing and Missing with Shoey and the Wiz. So, Shoey, mate, first off, thank you for coming up with the idea of spending your evenings having a chat to the Wiz about the wonderful goings on of the sporting world around us, mate. How are we?
Yeah, not too bad at all. They're the Wiz. I have to edit the name of the podcast though. I had Wizard and the Shoey afterwards, so we might have to change that up already.
I'm trying to give you more credit, mate.
Yeah, nice, cool. Yeah. So, yeah, thanks for joining me as well. It's gonna be a good chat, I think, and we'll just talk some shit and talk about sport and see what happens.
Yeah, sounds fantastic, mate. And I mean, obviously, we've already set ourselves up in the most professional setting that we could find with our perfect looking business chairs with that half decent view of what I'm only going to assume is the Southern Alps behind us as well.
It is, yeah. I'm just going to that Mount Cook just on the right hand side there. I've actually been in a helicopter around there. It's quite enjoyable.
I'd imagine there's a little bit more snow on it than what's on that image there.
Yeah, indeed. It looks like it's probably summertime. Yep.
Oh, righto, mate. Well, I think even for a start, there's a few humans that'll be listening to this that aren't aware of both of how either of us got our names with the Shoey and the Wiz, mate. So did you want to lead us off? Because I'm very aware that there are a few more nicknames that we do have for you just through the Movember Cricket Club, but Shoey is a good story.
Yeah. So first year in the Movember Test team. So that was 3 years ago now. So we've had 3 Test matches since then. Yeah, kind of just obviously random people, didn't know anyone. We just joined up and we gathered at the ground in Hamilton, Stark Oval, I think it's called. It was that one. And then one of the evenings, because it was raining so much that Test match, we had to wait around quite a lot, so there wasn't a lot of cricket being played. So one of the evenings we left because we played until it got dark because we had to make up time. I put the old shoes on top of the car and proceeded to drive off with them on top. And didn't realise until the morning after, obviously trying to find my shoes, couldn't find them. Looked everywhere, retraced the road where I was staying, which was probably about half an hour from the ground. Couldn't see them anywhere. And then it was messaged in the group chat. Has anyone seen my shoes? And the answer was no. And then Shoey, all through that next innings, there was just all sorts of puns coming out. And it was just, pretty good. So not to be confused with the actual Shoey where people drink from a shoe, obviously. But yeah, so that's how that nickname stuck.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get a name that it requires that little bit more of the actual story, you got to think it's a worthwhile name in it, because the amount of people, I think even your mother was slightly surprised during the Movember Test match. Whenever I called you Shoey, she was very concerned how that name came up for you. But yeah, I mean, it's one of the many names that I know you by. But yeah, I don't think Shoey's going to be going anywhere anytime soon for you, mate.
Yeah, I agree. No. So I guess is it the Wizard, or are we just going with Wizard?
It's majority of the time around the changing room, that is at the front of it. Anything from the Wizard to the Wiz. I mean, we'll leave it with the Wiz. That could be slightly confusing. Yeah. But before I was in the Movember setup, I wasn't getting rid of the facial hair every November. So I used to have a beard that was about down to my sternum. And one David Fox, who was an absolute pillar of the Waikato Rugby Union, he just decided to get me out to the Kaipaki Cricket Club. Saw the beard, how it was, and the Wizard was born. It does seem slightly ironic, especially during the first couple of days of Movember. There's absolutely nothing on the face, but the Wizard is still the Wizard.
So the growth you're rocking now is obviously since November then?
Tis. And it's it also helps with that Movember fundraising that it's, I'm getting rid of stuff to grow some stuff as opposed to just, slowly looking interesting for the first couple of days
Yeah,
of
yeah.
November, as most of us blokes do.
So do you reckon you're going to get some shape back by November this year then, or possibly not?
Oh, I mean, I've been told by many blokes in our slightly more social areas of the club that round is a shape. So, in terms of my physical shape, I don't think that's changing too much. But I mean, the beard could get a little bit more full
Yeah,
by
a bit
that
more
November
pointy.
mark.
Mm,
Yeah, I could possibly even try working a Merv Hughes for any of those November games as well, for sure.
nice. Very good.
Now, shall we, mate? In a couple of weeks, we have a tournament coming up, do we not?
We do indeed. Yep. So the old Black Caps playing over in the Champions Trophy in Pakistan
Mm.
slash Dubai, which I guess is the first interesting topic, isn't it?
It
Yeah.
is, it is. So we were just talking about that a little bit before. Obviously, we kicked off the issue, but inform our listeners, for anyone that wasn't aware of why it is slightly split.
Yeah. So obviously Pakistan, India have had a massive rivalry stretching back decades, not just in the cricket pitch, obviously, and they've actually refused to play in Pakistan.
Mm.
So all their matches in the Champions Trophy will be held in Dubai, which
Mm.
is very interesting, and it's probably not a bad thing, right? Obviously, Pakistan's slowly getting back in there with their cricketing and hosting cricket games.
Mm.
They've had a few tours recently, haven't they? England and Black Caps have been over there as well.
Mm.
But yeah, I think India playing in Pakistan might be a little bit stretched too far.
Yeah, and I can, like you said, there has been a little bit of how do we politely word it? There's a little bit of turmoil between the two countries, and it's not just in a sporting sense. So you can kind of understand the history behind that. However, I don't think there's too many sporting bodies that can say, you know what, I understand that the whole tournament is going to be played there, but
Yeah,
we will not be.
yeah, yeah.
Can't think of many football World Cups where that's happened.
No, exactly right. So we'll just have a bit of a recap about who's actually playing in the Champions Trophy, shall we?
Mm.
So top 8 teams in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So in Group A we have India and Pakistan, Bangladesh
Mm-hmm.
and New Zealand in Group A. Group B is Afghanistan, which is surprising. Well, maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's not surprising to some, but they've been playing some good cricket recently,
Yeah.
especially at home, right, in home conditions.
Mm.
Australia, England, and South Africa. So these are your top 8 teams in the world
Mm.
currently. So notable omission there is obviously the West Indies. I guess they've been
Yeah.
having some trouble since the 80s, really, haven't they? Just
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things that, especially for blokes like us, Shoey, back in our younger days, they were the nasty West Indian bowlers.
they were, yeah,
Your Curtly Ambrose, that kind of generation where you almost had teams fearing going to play the West Indies or any kind of tri-series in
yep,
Australia. If you had somebody like Curly Ambrose,
yep,
Courtney Walsh steaming in at Perth, which is just a fast
yep.
bowler's paradise.
Especially on those pitches with those cracks the size of the Grand Canyon on them as well, right?
Exactly, yeah. Um, I mean, the pessimist in me would possibly lean towards, we obviously have a plethora of T20 competitions around the world now. So,
It's true.
West Indies being a bit of a combination of different countries, is that, I don't want to say ruining, but is that taking away from their longer format for the fact that they've got more of their players going all around the
Yep,
world as T20 mercenaries, as they're often referred to?
yep. I would agree with that too. Yep, definitely. I mean, they've had
Mm.
some great players specialise in T20 cricket, haven't they? Just
Mm.
just recently, and then giving away the international duties, which is the same for most countries, right? Look at the Black
Mm.
Caps and the number of players who have just taken out T20 contracts recently. I can think of Tim Seifert. He was a big loss, I
Mm.
think.
Yeah, Tim Seifert, Trent
Yep.
Bolt,
Okay.
Mitchell McClenaghan, I think, was
Yep.
one of the first ones to
Yep.
refuse a contract.
Finn Allen, a real young guy,
Mm.
lots of talent. He's played a handful of games for the Black Cats, and he said no thanks. I'm going to go make some money
Mm.
in T20 cricket, right? I mean, yeah, you can't blame some of these guys for wanting to set themselves up, right? But yeah, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a total profession now, isn't it? So, you've got, if you compare it to something like, we're Kiwis, so if you compare it to something like rugby, you've got
Mm,
some guys that are possibly on the fringe of the All Blacks squad. They're now going, oh, you know what? I'll go play in Europe. I'll go play in Japan. I'll go get that bit of a payday
yeah,
while I'm still young and I'm still valuable.
yeah, and it's that you may play 1 or 2 tests for the All Blacks, and your value goes up, right? So you got to cash in that
Mm,
way you can. Yeah,
mm,
yeah.
mm,
So yep. So that's the actual teams in the comp there. So
mm.
yeah, Afghanistan, I think will be tough in those conditions actually.
100%, yeah. Similar
Turning
with
pitches.
Pakistan.
Mm.
Very strong spin bowling contingent.
Yeah, so just some other, I guess, key stats for the Champions Trophy. So Pakistan actually are the defending champions.
Mm.
As we touched on before, Pakistan will be hosting its first major global tournament since ODI World Cup in 1996,
Jeez.
which
I
is
think you still
interesting.
would have had a full head of hair there, mate.
Oh, I definitely would have. Yeah,
You and me both.
yeah. Yeah, and obviously we spoke about India and playing in Dubai there. Yeah,
Mm,
so that's in terms of the scheduling, that's actually interesting, right? So the semi-final 1 and 2 could either be in Pakistan or Dubai. Same with the final.
mm,
It'd be very
yeah,
interesting to see if Pakistan and India make the final, where it's actually going to be played. 'Cause that would be quite interesting.
yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
you obviously don't want to think about things such as, don't want to say the words match fixing, but
Ooh,
if it's gonna
oof, you went there.
get get a team to the ground that they want to play in / out of the country they don't want to play in, you could get some interesting results. Or
Uh,
if Pakistan can pretty much force India into a semi-final or final in on their home track, I mean, I think it's better for cricket, but
yeah,
there'll
yeah,
be a very big spanner in the works for India.
yeah, definitely would be. Mm.
Mm,
Yep. So just quickly running through the schedule there. So first
mm,
game is actually Pakistan New Zealand on February the 19th.
mm,
So yeah, it's in Karachi.
mm,
Then England, India, Bangladesh at Dubai, obviously on the
mm.
20th, 21st of Feb. Afghanistan versus South Africa. It's from Karachi. Um, February 22nd is Australia England. That'd be a good one for those both. It's be Baz McCallum's first
First gig in
first
white
tournament.
ball,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
Mm.
that's going to be interesting. Should be coaching the Black Cats, but that's a different topic.
We touch on that in a different post.
Yeah, and that's from Gaddafi and Stadium in
Mm,
Lahore. India, Pakistan. So that first game is in Dubai. That's on
mm,
the 23rd of February. So you can see these games are quite close together, right? It's pretty much the next
mm,
days and yeah, after each other. 24th of Feb sees Bangladesh take on the Black Caps. So that's from
mm.
Rawalpindi Cricket Stadium. Then we have Australia, South Africa on the 25th. That's from Rawalpindi as well. I wonder if they're going to use the same pitch. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they've got a couple actually up and
Surely,
running on the
yeah.
different blocks. Surely you'd imagine
They
so.
must do, right? Yeah, especially
Mm.
50 over cricket, right?
Or is that part of the Pakistan tactic?
Could be low and slow, right?
Mm,
Mm.
mm,
Yep. Then we got Afghanistan, England on the 26th of February. That's from Gaddafi Stadium.
mm,
Then Pakistan are playing Bangladesh. That'd be a good game, actually.
mm.
That's from Rawalpindi. Australia versus Afghanistan. So Afghanistan they have a day off and they play straight away. It's pretty quick, isn't it? So they
Pretty
play,
tight, yeah.
they're playing Australia as well from Gaddafi.
Mm,
Guess they'll have a pretty good gauge of that stadium though and the pitch
mm.
conditions. England, South Africa on the 1st of March from Karachi. Then we play India in Dubai on the 2nd of March on that Sunday there. So that'll be a pretty crucial game, I'd say. Then the semi-finals are on the 4th and the 5th, and the
Mm.
final on the 9th of March there. So it's a pretty short tournament, eh? It's a pretty small window.
Yeah.
It's sort
But
of,
what I am also hearing from you is there is going to be a lot of sleepless nights.
yeah, yeah. The timings I've got here must be local time because it's 2:30 p.m. So it'll be,
I mean, that'd be lovely, but I don't see
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. So that's yeah.
Mm.
Cool. So
But
I
the
guess yeah. Any other comments on that schedule there? I think it's probably well covered.
yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's going to be some tight turnaround games as well, which if we're to be fair, going to be fair as well, you've got your more established teams, like your top 3, 4 teams. They're probably going to have the same, if not more, in terms of support staff with them, making sure that everyone's recovery is in place, etc., etc.
Oh,
So
yeah.
some of those smaller teams, it might hurt them with the shorter turnarounds.
Possibly, yeah.
More chance for injury.
Yeah, I think like good point, right? Squad, I think it's going to be important. I think everyone's probably is going to get a go on the squad, and that's a
Mm.
beautiful segue into our next segment of the podcast, talking about the Black Cap squad.
Jeez, look at that! It's almost as if we planned that. Go us.
Yeah. Do you want me to just quickly run through the squad there?
I can if you like, mate.
Oh, yeah, you can run those names off. Yep.
Yeah, so we've got Captain Mitchell Santner from the amazing Northern Districts area, of course. We've got Michael Bracewell from Wellington, Mark Chapman up in Auckland, Devon Conway from down in Wellington, Lockie Ferguson from Auckland, Matt Henry, Tom Latham, Daryl Mitchell, and Willow Rourke, all from Canterbury. Glenn Phillips from down in Otago, Rachin Ravindra and Ben Sears and Nathan Smith, all from Wellington. Everybody's favourite bloke to steady the ship, Kane Williamson from Northern Districts. And a bloke that I'm very happy to see in that squad, a Will Young from Central Stags.
Yeah, at first glance, so especially with the recent series we had against Sri Lanka, there's quite a few players that didn't play any international cricket have been selected in this squad, right? So I have a wee concern there, and especially over Ben Sears. He's been injured for a long time.
Yeah.
He's been playing T20 cricket, right? There's only bit of cricket he's played, and he's going to go straight into a 50-over match. So I know there's a couple of warm-up games beforehand, but yeah, that might be. Really hope he doesn't injure himself again. I hope he's got his workload sort of limited to a degree, so he can get back on that pitch, right? Because I think he's a critical bowler.
Oh, most definitely. And I mean, you're going from a New Zealand summer, which obviously we have beautiful summers, but you're going to go over to a little bit more heat and humidity over there as well. So again, if you haven't got that preparation and that recovery 100%, is it worth risking him going too early in the tournament, or do you save him for a little bit later to make sure you don't miss him out in the tail end of the competition?
I think he has to play one of the warm-up games at least, right, just to get that 10-over spell under his belt.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we might as well stick with the bowlers since we've started off there. That would have been my fault.
Hard to tell that we're at opposite ends of the batting lineup,
mate? Obviously, Matt Henry, he'll lead the attack, right? And he's been playing phenomenal cricket the last, even 2 or 3 years, right? He's just been outstanding, and is our premier bowler at the moment. Nathan Smith, that's an interesting call there as well. I mean, he showed some good form in the Test match series against England. And he can bat a bit too, right? So I think it's probably a good call.
I mean, to be honest, there's a very pessimistic part of me that's thinking he's mainly in there for that beautiful mullet that he's rocking.
Yeah, true. And the moustache, obviously, as well. So
yeah, can't go wrong with them both.
Flying the flag well. Yep. Lockie Ferguson's, that's interesting inclusion, right? Obviously, one of those players that we missed on my list before, but one of those players who've playing T20 cricket.
Yeah, and it's something that, again, he's been playing in the Super Smash here in New Zealand in that 20-over format. He's played a little bit. Sorry, no, he hasn't been in our Super Smash. He's been over in the BBL.
Yeah, actually. Yeah.
So again, he hasn't really been around with the rest of the Kiwis, but he's playing against, in theory, those bigger, better names, but still in a T20 competition. So I do think it will be a very interesting choice as well. I think Lockie's inclusion in games will be very dependent on what kind of pitch that you're going to be bowling at as well. Similar to Perth type of wicket. If it's going to be a little bit more filled with a little bit older, so it's a little bit more cracked up. Someone with his pace bowling at those things, that could be very dangerous.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Be interesting to see how the body holds up though, because typically in 50-over cricket, you're open with a spell, and then you might come back for a couple of 2-over spells, right? Whereas T20 cricket, you'll bowl 2 up top, maybe 1, just depends how you're going. Then you'll bowl 2 more, and you're done. So it's
yeah.
I know he's had some issues with his lower legs, right? So yeah, to see how
I
he goes
mean,
as well.
in theory, with those T20 games, you then get to sit down for a wee while as a bowler, don't you?
That's true. Yeah. And so rounding out the pace attack is Willow Rook. Again, that's probably the last couple of seasons he's been a bloody good find, right? Just extra pace and bounce, and hits the wicket hard, that heavy ball as people like to call it, and sort of troubles the batsman at the top of the bat, right, around the splice area. So that could be especially on those low pitches over there, low and slow, it might be something you can try and attack the batsman with.
Yeah, again, because if you're looking at somebody like Lockie Ferguson, since he is almost that little bit more of a T20 specialist, he's got that variation in his different deliveries. So for someone like him, the low and slow may not be as beneficial because he's not usually bowling that heavy ball, like you said.
Yeah.
So that could be where Willow Rourke gets his chance as well.
Nice. I guess you want to take over the batters there, mate.
Well, I mean, we haven't gone through the spinning options. I know that you're a frontline quick yourself, Shoey, but
they're more the all
there are
rounders,
other.
right? There's a couple of all rounders there.
Yeah,
Obviously,
100%.
Captain Mitchell, right? He's probably one of the premier one-day T20 bowlers in the world. In terms of his,
that was almost going to be my next question to you there, because obviously, I am currently touching wood because we don't want it to happen, but God forbid something does happen to our captain. Who is your next first choice spin bowler? Santner's either injured or, he's taken a bit of treatment. Who's the next spinner that gets thrown the ball?
You got Bracewell, right? So he's probably the next cab off the rank there. And then you have to go Phillips and Ravindra. Kane won't bowl anymore, right?
Oh, absolutely not.
I think he's set up for that.
Yeah.
I think with his whole elbow not being straight debacle we went through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't need to go through it again.
But yeah, there isn't really a frontline spinner apart from Mitchell, is there? That's interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of part-timers.
And again, like with the chances of the types of pitches that they're going to be getting over in Pakistan, like if you look at the last few test matches that Pakistan have hosted, all 4 innings have been opened up with spin bowlers. So,
True.
Is that something you're going to try to continue in for the shorter format, or is Shaheen Shah Afridi going to get a little bit more input?
Yeah, so it's interesting, right? Because you go into a spin-friendly environment, and AJ Patel would have been someone you'd want to pick, right? He's a premier spin bowler, especially in those.
You'd imagine so.
He's won several test matches over there, right? I can think of a couple at least one against Pakistan that he spinned us to victory in Dubai, and obviously that 10 wickets in a match in India as well a few seasons ago. So yeah, it seems to be we default back to our pace attack, don't we?
Yeah, and that's where I was thinking it's quite interesting looking at that lineup. That 100% Santner is one of the best spinning options that we have currently within the world, let alone the country. But it's then a bit of a drop in terms of consistent quality for the slower bowlers, whereas there's quite a few top names in those big nasty quicks.
There is. Right, I'm just conscious of our time here, mate. Should we push on to these batters, quickly run through them? Obviously, one doesn't need any chat, but the rest may do.
Well, I mean, it's good we've got Conway back if he performs.
Yeah, I was waiting for the if.
I mean, I'm very happy that Will Young's got a spot in that squad.
Same.
I think he did a fantastic job here in New Zealand after Conway didn't show up for the last couple of matches because he was there for the birth of his child, which is obviously fair enough. Yep. And he did a great job over in India as well in the Test series again.
I just hope he doesn't sit on the bench the whole tournament.
Yeah.
That's my only concern, because I guess it's between Conway and Young to open, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Ravindra, he struggled a little bit against Sri Lanka, to be fair. But again, different conditions. He did very well playing against India in the Test series. Michael Bracewell, yeah, he has had a very good Super Smash competition in T20, so he's obviously good for a bit of runs. Tom Latham, again, I'm not the biggest fan of having that lower order wicketkeeper bat.
Yep.
But he hasn't really got a great track record of sitting at the top of that order
Exactly.
as a wicketkeeper bat.
I guess
and
there
yeah,
is that if we do have a bit of a collapse, he can come in and sort of build an innings like he normally does, get us back on track, right? And he can also hit too at the end of the innings. So
yeah,
yeah,
100%.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it.
And of course, Daryl Mitchell.
Yeah.
Again, he's pretty much missed the consistency with bat in hand. And as much as I don't like not seeing Kane at the forefront of the leadership team within the Black Caps, he has still done quite well without that captaincy pressure over him too, which is what we want to see.
There's no doubt he's got a behind the scenes leadership role anyway, right?
So
he'd be helping captain on the field. I would have thought.
I need it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I guess that's the squad wrapped up. We briefly touched on the Black Cap games before, but we've got Pakistan first. Yep, on the 8th of Feb there. Then South Africa on the 10th. We had a bit of a break. We had a 9-day break before we hit Pakistan. Sorry. I apologise for that. That's actually the pre-tournament tri-series with Pakistan and South Africa. So we play two warm-up games on the 8th of February and the 10th of February, we just mentioned. Then we start the tournament real on the 19th of February, against Pakistan.
A 5-day turnaround, which sounds a little bit
pretty good. Yeah. Some of those other teams have got it pretty rough, and then we don't play again until the 2nd of March. Then, so that's over a week, right? Oh no, sorry, just under a
Close
week.
To.
So not bad. The old scheduling for us.
Yeah. There. And I mean, you even mentioned it just before there as well. Some of the teams we don't want to say they're getting shafted a little bit, but there's Afghanistan have a game, they have a 1-day break, and then they come up against Australia.
Yeah, that's pretty rough,
Even in terms of just the mental preparation that you need for that, you'd want a bit more than a day, as opposed to possibly even just the physical side of it as well.
Yeah, I think what we might do is we might review those two games in that tri-series and see how we've gone. I'm interested to see what 11s we select for both those games too. I assume they'll be different.
You'd hope so. Yeah.
So I should everyone will get a run on those two games at least. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that shapes up. Cool. I guess moving on to our final segment here, Wiz. So we've got a pretty apt named segment called Wizard Spells, where we'll make some bold predictions or any magical cricketing moments from the week. Have you got any bold predictions for this tournament? Any bolters you can see coming out of left field?
Well, if we think of this as a holistic view of cricket, which, when you're in the wizarding realm, you try to make sure you get the whole picture as opposed to just a snapshot. Sometimes that might backfire. If you look at some of the age group tournaments, Bangladesh does compete quite well in these younger tournaments, but they're struggling a little bit once it ticks over into the senior arenas. But with this being a competition on the subcontinent, I'm actually backing Bangladesh to go quite far in this tournament. Obviously, we have India, Pakistan as big powerhouses. However, there's a good chance they're going to come up against each other in a semi-final.
Yes, it is, yeah.
So if they come up against each other in a semi-final, there's a spot for somebody else. If they both make it to that point as well, because, sometimes upsets happen in these tournaments. But I'm actually backing Bangladesh to get quite far. I'm going to say at worst for them, they're going to finish top 4 at worst.
Nice. Good call. Might note that down, and see how that plays out.
Don't get a TAB with it, but you know.
Yeah. Disclaimer there, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so next segment is my one. It's Shoey's Slog. It's highlighting some sort of power hitters or some moments or aggressive play or some good play in the recent week of cricket. And since I'm obviously a bowler, we've gone with Norman Ali, 6 for 41 of 15.1 overs in the Test match against West Indies, which is currently playing. Day 2, and they're already in the third innings, so it's moving along quite rapidly, as most Test matches do. But yeah, shout out to Norman Ali there. It's a pretty good bowling.
It almost sounds like a Tashes type of scorecard, doesn't it?
Does actually, yeah. So Norman Ali is actually 38 years and 112 days old, so he's doing pretty good to still be kicking around. And
he gives some of us slightly longer in the tooth blokes a bit of hope, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. And another powerhouse moment, as much as it pains me, Pakistan Sevens losing to Australia in the final, 28-26. So yeah, we'll just skip over that quite quickly. But some good positive powerhouse moment was Uruguay, 3rd place in the tournament there in Perth in Australia, beating the New Zealand team, Sevens team, and also Fiji. So
yeah,
how about that?
I mean, you know, you've got less players on the part, but I would definitely say it's a massive powerhouse moment, especially for Uruguay rugby. It's great seeing what are typically called the minnows getting up over the big teams. You know, sucks that one of those teams was New Zealand, but everybody loves an underdog.
Yeah. Right. I guess that wraps us up for our first ever episode.
Not bad. We got through this show. We did good.
Yeah.
But I do believe that we have set up an account for any of our listeners to start sending either questions or subject matter suggestions through to as well.
Yeah, we'll get some social media action going. We'll get the old Facebook and Instagram pages up, and then we've got an email address too. You can send some questions through, which is playingandmissing@gmail.com. You can send that through. But we'll get the YouTube podcasts up, and you can make some comments there if you like. And yeah, wow. See you in the next one, I guess.
Sounds good to me, Shoey.
Cheers, mate.